Hello everyone and welcome to the Arbor Farm. Thanks for joining us for today's episode where I want to share with you how and why we use Dewitt Ground Cloth as our weed barrier. Let's get started. There are many types of weed barrier on the market, and many of them work well for a short time and many of them work well for a long time. Last season we tried the Bio 360 biodegradable film, and it was okay, but I ended up tearing a lot of it out because the wind was just so harsh and it would just whip it. We don't have a tractor implement to apply that, so Dewitt Ground Cloth is something that works better for us. It's a landscaping ground cloth, also known as Sunbelt. I'll put a link in the description below. And no, I'm not getting paid to say this, but I just want to help you if you're looking for a solution that is a good one that will last a long time. And according to the research that we've done, the Dewitt Ground Cloth will last for several seasons, like 10 to 15 years. And so we consider it an investment. And if that's something that you're looking for, something that you can just put down and then use over and over and over, this might be a good solution for you. Now, why might you want to use a weed barrier? A weed barrier is to help eliminate, obviously, weeds. But why might you want to use one? Well, it's advantageous for us because we're just growing so many flowers that we also don't have time to keep up with the weeding of them all. And so to keep our beds nice and to help keep the flowers growing, the weed barrier is something that is a must for us. So that you know what you're looking for, I'm gonna turn my camera around here and show you the packaging. There are many places that you can buy this particular landscape cloth or weed barrier online. Again, I have the description below, but don't feel like you have to buy there. That's just so that you know what product I'm talking about. So here's the packaging label. It's the Sunbelt, the woven ground cover, professional grade, and we like it because it has stripes on it, which I'll show you in a moment. For our plant alignment, it's long lasting and it's highly UV resistant. So it doesn't let the sun go through in order for those weeds to grow, but it does let water to go through, which makes it perfect. There are a couple other supplies that you will find helpful when laying your landscape cloth, and those are landscape staples. And we use those simply to hold the cloth down. I put them every 2 or 3 feet or so along both sides and sometimes even down the middle to hold the cloth down so it doesn't blow away in the wind. And then the other thing we like to use is a torch. And you can get these at like Lowe's or the Home Depot, and I just attach it to my propane, my camping gas, camp stove gas, and that works really well. The reason that you'll want to use this rather than just cutting the landscape cloth is that the landscape cloth frays. So when you get to the end of a row and you need to cut so that you can go to the next row, we use this, and we recommend using this. You can also use this to put your holes for planting, and I'll show you that in a few moments. But first, let's lay out our ground cloth. So I'm getting started here, and I'm going to use a couple of staples right down here at the beginning to hold it in place so that I don't pull it too far. All right, and we're ready to roll. Now you see the yellow lines on here, those are perfect for keeping your rows nice and straight and also for keeping the cloth nice and straight. So I'm gonna take my torch down to the other end and I'm gonna go ahead and cut that piece off. Again, the goal with using the torch is to keep it from fraying. So I'm just lighting my torch and I'm gonna tone down the flame and then cut right across using the flame. Now I'm ready to come through with the next row, and what I like to do is overlap the first row and the second row by 6 inches so that I don't get weeds growing up in between each row of weed barrier. So these sections are 12-inch sections. So my total ground cloth has 6 sections, so it's 6 feet across. So I like to overlap 6 inches. So I'm gonna put it halfway across between the first and the second yellow line as I go along. So the next step I need to do is take my stakes and pound them in where it overlaps. And if this was a windy day, it would be handy to have some help, but thankfully today's not a windy day. And sometimes when we've laid this weed barrier on a windy day, we will also put stakes temporarily on the next side as well, and then pull those out, and we come along with the second layer and stick them in on top to hold both layers in. So let's lay our landscape stakes and get this cloth secured. I'm putting my stakes about 2 feet apart. And I'm just eyeballing it as I go. If your ground is hard, you might want a hammer to make them stick in. The next thing we need to do is add our holes for plants, and I like to do that by using a template and then burning the holes so that it doesn't fray, so that it lasts several years. Over here you can see the holes, and I'll show you how we do that. To burn my holes, I've created a template. This one is a 6-inch spacing for plants. And I also have one for a 9-inch spacing, and I have one that's bigger for larger plants like peonies and dahlias. So you can create whatever spacing you want as far as a template is concerned, but I use this 2 by 4 feet piece of particle board. Those are rather inexpensive at like Lowe's or the Home Depot. You can get them for $4 or $5. And then what I've done on the piece of board is I've used pencil marks to make a grid. I've measured out 6 inches, and that allows me to use a hole saw then to cut each of those holes so that they're evenly spaced. Some people like to plant in straight rows, but I've used this offset pattern because it allows me to fit more plants in the space, or so it seems. But that's just what I do. So then I lay this on top of my piece of ground cloth, and I'll show you how I use this to burn my holes in straight rows and nice and even holes. Here you'll see I have my 2 by 4 foot piece of particle board with holes cut in it laid out on my Dewitt ground cloth. And I've drawn a pencil mark here where the center of my board is, and my goal is to align that with the center line, that yellow line that goes down through the ground cloth. Once I have that in place, I step on the board so that there are no extra spaces between the board and the ground cloth as I get ready to burn. Then when I'm sliding the template to the next one, I overlap with the last row that I did. So it looks like this. Again, I make sure that center line is aligned with the center line. Stand on it and burn my holes. And now I'm ready to plant. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Our goal is to always create content that's helpful for you. And so if you found today's content helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel so that you can receive notifications as to when the next content is available. And as always, if you have questions or comments, please drop those below. We read every single one and we are always happy to engage with you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.